Now, the latest from ITV News Meridian with Sangeeta Barbara and Fred Dinage.
Good evening and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines here in the south. Unstable and badly loaded, why the Höga Saka listed and ran aground in the Solent. A damning report says lessons must be learned.
Just the ticket, how an online system could make it easier to challenge parking fines.
Remembering Cliff Mitchellmore, tributes to the star of Southern Television who's died aged 96.
And the fireball, brighter than planet Venus, lights up the night sky. Did you see it passing overhead? Good evening. A cargo ship stranded in the Solent for 3 weeks had been incorrectly loaded and was unstable before it left port.
Well, that's the findings of a detailed report by the Marine Accident Investigation Branch into why the Höga Saka listed and flooded last year after running aground on its way from Southampton to Germany.
The 51,000-ton ship was carrying 1,500 luxury cars and 6,000 tons of machinery. But investigators found too much cargo had been loaded into the upper decks, and it was pure chance the Höga Saka grounded on Bramble Bank.
The ship was unstable when she left her berth, and what didn't happen in this case was that the ship staff didn't check the stability of the vessel properly before the ship sailed. Now, there was an opportunity for the ship staff to recognise that and rectify that, but because they didn't make a proper check, it didn't happen, and therefore when she left the berth she was in an unsafe situation.
Well, the company which owns the ship has many questions to answer. Why did its staff fail to carry out the most basic safety procedures that would have avoided the near disaster? And what lessons have been learned?
Our transport correspondent Mike Pearce went to the company's headquarters in Oslo today in search of the answers.
The most damning criticism in today's report is levelled at Hög, the company who run 50 of these massive ships. The car carriers like this one are often seen in Southampton. Before Osaka left the port last January, the company's staff failed to properly calculate how stable the ship would be. They estimated the weight of the 1,450 vehicles on board and got it wrong. No wonder then, in effect, the ship fell over. Staggeringly, the report says safety breaches were the norm, and others in the industry are accused of the same complacency. Well, Hög is based in the Norwegian capital of Oslo. Today I've travelled to the company's headquarters to put some of the criticisms to one of its top executives. I mean, the report says that safety breaches were the norm. That just can't be right.
We don't recognise ourselves in that description, and we cannot really comment.
So what, you're saying the report is wrong?
We prefer not to comment on specifics in the report at this time. Again, we received the report yesterday in its final form. I have not had a chance to review it in detail myself or with my team.
But you saw a draft a month ago. You must know what's in the report.
We saw a draft a month ago, which was given to us as well as a number of other consultees.
The ship has been repaired and is again carrying cars. Was this really a case of let's get the ship out quickly, let's sort of not worry about the stability, let's kind of just keep to the schedule?
Well, there was certainly no commercial pressure for the ship to sail in this instance, and our procedures are very clear that the master has full authority to decide when a ship sails, so that we do not push vessels out before they're ready to leave port.
Today's report is a stark reminder of what can happen when safety rules are broken. Can you guarantee this won't happen again?
I cannot guarantee, but I can promise that we will do everything we can to make sure our procedures are safe and sound, and that we minimize the risk that this will ever happen again.
There are lots of stories about the captain was a hero and all that kind of stuff. I mean, was that just a bit of a decoy to try and get you out of, admitting that you'd made mistakes at the time?
Well, the day after the incident, when the press conference took place in Southampton, that was the information available. Later, it seems that the vessel was without steering by the time she grounded. However, it's apparent that both the pilot, the master, and the rescue authorities did a very professional job.
It was luck the ship didn't list over in the main navigation channel. That could have closed the port of Southampton for weeks. Mike Pearce, ITV News, Oslo.
Well, it certainly was one of the most remarkable sights ever seen in the waters of the Solent. For 19 days, a massive cargo ship stranded helpless on a sandbank.
And thousands headed to the coast to see the stricken vessel. Richard Jones reports now on events just over a year ago.
Hergasaka's short voyage into the headlines is recreated in the bridge simulator at the Warsash Maritime Academy near Southampton. She left port just after 8 o'clock in the evening.
She was sailing from Southampton going to Bremerhaven with a load of agricultural equipment and cars. Very much a routine trip, a short European voyage.
But within an hour she'd left the main channel and ran aground on the Brambles bank.
Stop engine. Make the emergency broadcast. We know that she had a 40-degree list. We know that she lost steerage, and we know that she lost propulsion.
Just a few miles away, the crew at Calshot Lifeboat Station got the call to head out to sea and help. Their job was to account for all those aboard. They rescued one man and then another.
Because of the angle, he was struggling to sort of hold his footing, and as sort of our smaller boat, the D-class, approached, it was the best asset to get in there to rescue him. He actually slipped and fell and suffered some minor injuries as he fell. They then evacuated him from the ship, ran to Yarmouth all-weather lifeboat, where he was later then transferred by helicopter direct to hospital.
The rest of the crew were airlifted to land and were eventually taken to the Seafarers Centre in Southampton. There, the chaplain helped one man call his family at home in India.
I thought I'd made a big mistake because he started speaking to his wife and tears were just streaming down his face. But actually he said to me, he said, it's okay. It's just my wife had heard that the ship had sunk. But I told her it was all right. So they're tears of joy, they're not tears of sorrow.
By the following morning, hundreds headed to the Solent for a closer look. It was an extraordinary sight, a modern, professionally run cargo ship aground on a sandbank that even the most amateur sailor knows to avoid. Deliberate or not, grounding where she was took the ship out of the main channel, preventing a capsize. That could have closed Southampton docks, delivering a body blow to the local and maybe even to the national economy. 3 weeks after the accident, the Hergasaka was refloated and returned to Southampton, where her cargo of cars and machinery was offloaded. Following repairs, she finally left and today continues to sail the high seas. Richard Jones, ITV News.
In other news, a 92-year-old woman from Poole has handed a petition to Downing Street calling for a change in immigration rules. Myrtle Cottle, who's originally from South Africa, was threatened with deportation by the Home Office, but was told on Mother's Day she can stay in Dorset and be cared for by her only daughter. 150,000 people have signed the petition campaigning for the law to be changed on adult dependent relatives.
It's been very hard. Sleepless nights and tears. And the threats have been terrible, and I'm only pleased it's behind my back now, that I can relax a bit now and we can live a happy life together.
Now, when we get a parking ticket, how many of us scratch our heads wondering if we've got the time, energy or patience to question it?
Well, this week, Brighton and Hove has become the first city in the country to introduce a new online system for contesting fines, and it's soon to be rolled out across the region, as Andy Dickinson reports.
It's a familiar sight wherever you live. A traffic warden checking cars, this one even helping tourists pay for their parking. Problems, of course, arise when you get a ticket, but now contesting fines could become that much simpler with a new way to appeal via your computer.
At the moment, it can take up to 12 weeks to get your appeal independently reviewed, and this is going to dramatically cut that time to perhaps less than 3 weeks. It will be an open, a transparent process. Drivers will be able to get all of the council's information in relation to their case online, and feedback from them has been very positive.
In Brighton, this is just one of many new technologies brought in to help solve a red button issue, and one that it's estimated will save the council £200 per case. Brighton's one of the most expensive places to park in the country, and 120,000 fines were handed out here last year. 465 appeals were then refused by the council but pursued through the adjudicator, of which more than half were accepted. What this new website hopes to do is accelerate that process. Without costly court proceedings, even video can be uploaded. But not everyone is convinced.
They make mistakes with what they write in their books, car numbers being wrong, street names being wrong, and of course on top of that, if signs and lines are wrong, that's another reason for appealing. So if the councils actually put their signs and lines right, and the traffic attendants' way of doing things was tidied up a bit, I feel that it would cut down the amount of appeals in any case, so there just wouldn't be any need to do it.
When rolled out in full, the new system will also be able to appeal bus lane contraventions, even dart charges. Whether it will provide a U-turn in traffic warden-driver relations, however, well, that may need a little more human interaction. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Brighton.
A former member of the European Parliament who's accused of fiddling his expenses has told the court he didn't understand the rules. Peter Skinner represented the South East and was a Labour MEP for 20 years. It's claimed he used thousands of pounds of his allowances to fund trips to the US on shopping sprees and paid his ex-wife £10,000. The 56-year-old denies the charges and claims he was suffering from stress and depression.
A fire at a multi-million-pound property in Brighton is being treated as suspicious. Severe damage had been caused to the 3-floor home in Rodine. Residents said small explosions could be heard, thought to come from cars in a garage which has been completely destroyed. A man suffered burns at the scene. A man has been arrested on suspicion of arson with intent.
Plans to increase capacity at AFC Bournemouth Stadium have gone on show this evening. The Vitality Stadium at Dean Court currently has the lowest capacity of any Premier League ground. The plans include a new south stand, increasing capacity to 14,500.
You're watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Coming up,
Alpine Challenge. Skiers from our region take part against the sports elite in the Special Olympics.
and for more on all of our stories, why not head to our website itv.com/Meridian. Any views or news, you can call us on 0808 1010 095 or get in touch via Facebook or send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
Now, strict new guidelines have been released recommending both men and women to cut down on alcohol and consume no more than 14 units per week.
Yes, ITV's Tonight programme will this evening look into whether regular drinkers understand the limits which have been set and explore the relationship between alcohol and life-threatening conditions. Matt Price has more.
The experts might have changed the guidelines, but have they changed our attitudes to drinking? New advice issued at the start of the year is the biggest shake-up in alcohol recommendations in 20 years, and it's all aimed at encouraging us to cut back.
The number of units that are recommended each week has gone down, particularly for men. So that's gone down from 21 units a week to 14, and for women it has stayed at 14 units. So the message is a lot simpler and a lot clearer.
Nearly 30 million of us drink some alcohol every week, with the new advice targeted at these people. But what are 14 units? Meet the Tonight programme's pub quiz panel.
My name's Stephen Armstrong. I'm 39 years old. My favourite drink is rum and coke.
My name's Debbie. I'm 52. My favourite drink is white wine and soda.
And they both fall down on the first question. How many units are in a large glass of wine?
2.
I'd say 2.
In fact, there are actually 3 units in a large glass of wine. But it's younger drinkers such as Ursula and Lexi who are more likely to overconsume.
My favourite drink is white wine, usually Pinot, which I probably drink most evenings.
I drink Prosecco, depending on what shift I work, is depending on how much I drink and when I drink.
In the last 20 years, drinking in the home has increased by 33%, and totting up units on the DrinkAware website can create quite a shock.
38 units per week, so that's 2,288 calories, which equates to 7.8 burgers.
But the health warnings go much further than calories. Janet Forster is keen to raise awareness of the relationship between alcohol and cancer. Although her breast cancer diagnosis was never linked to drinking, it made her question her lifestyle.
I don't want to blame myself for anything. So if it comes back, if I'm told it's because I'm unlucky, well, you handle that. If I'm told that it was because I shouldn't have been drinking or I shouldn't have been eating this or that, then I would struggle.
The drinkers featured in this evening's programme say they will take heed of the advice, but admits it could be all too easy to fall off the wagon. Matt Price, ITV News.
And tonight, Alcohol, How Much Is Too Much is here on ITV at 7:30 this evening.
Meanwhile, the ITV Evening News continues with the national and the international news at 6:30. Let's now get a preview to London and James Mates.
Warnings that the Chancellor's budget gamble has only a 50-50 chance of paying off. An independent think tank says George Osborne is running out of wiggle room to put the UK back in the black by 2020 and says there could be tax rises or deeper cuts to come.
My name is Paul Daniels and they call me an unusualist. Not because I'm unusual.
Remembering master magician Paul Daniels tributes as he dies from a brain tumour at 77. And from heroic failure to Hollywood star, the rise and rise of Eddie the Eagle Edwards. Please join Ranveer Singh and me at 6:30.
Thank you. A major recruitment drive has been launched by Hampshire County Council to attract more social workers. At the moment, it employs more than 300, but the authority says the number of children and families needing support is rising. In the last year, more than 100,000 people have contacted the council for advice and to report concerns about the welfare of a child.
Iranians across the south are getting ready to celebrate their new year with a traditional fire walk in Southampton. We have to say it was a supervised event, so don't please try this at home. It comes with the arrival of spring this weekend and will mark the start of 13 days of festivities.
People are jumping over the fire and they sing a song which says they give the fire their yellowness, which is the sign of weakness or all the bad things, and they take from the fire the redness, which is the wealth, health and all the good things.
A group of skiers from the south have been proving that disability is not a barrier to sport by taking part in a national skiing competition in the French Alps.
It's run by the Special Olympics for athletes with Down syndrome, autism and many other types of learning disabilities.
Well, this week they've pulled on their skis and they've been racing each other down the slopes after being given a warm welcome at the ski resort of Serre Chevalier. Our reporter Lauren Hall, lucky girl, went with them.
ITV Meridian Sports Report, sponsored by WeWantAnyCar.com, the Cash for Cars website.
The fun started with the opening ceremony. And it continued out on the slopes.
On the slopes of Serre Chevalier in France, where athletes are taking part in the Special Olympics National Alpine Skiing Competition. And where better to show off their skill and speed than here on the giant slalom course.
The Special Olympics is the world's largest sports organisation for athletes with learning disabilities. This competition sees athletes from all over the UK competing against each other.
Skiing's good.
Among them, a group from the south who seem to be enjoying themselves.
Happy? It makes you feel happy to ski. Is it really good fun?
Yeah,
And are you very fast?
very fast.
Are you feeling ready?
Yes.
Are you going to go out there and win some medals?
Yeah, sure.
I have 3 athletes from Southampton.
They are really happy to be here. They enjoy every single second of skiing, and as a head coach it's an absolute privilege to teach them all and take them and train them because they are such good, positive skiers.
Throughout the week, they've been competing in timed races, taking it in turns to go down, with the aim of going as fast as possible. It's a chance to get involved in sport and make new friends. It's no wonder this means so much to them.
It makes me F-E-E-L feel good.
Special Olympics is for anyone with an intellectual disability, which covers a huge range of conditions from things like Down syndrome, autism. But the crucial thing about Special Olympics is we're for all abilities. We're not really interested in how disabled someone is. We just care that they love sport and want to do it.
At the awards ceremony, all the athletes are given a medal. Gold, silver, bronze or runner-up. It's a way of celebrating everyone's achievements and means they all go home a champion. Lauren Hall, ITV News.
Yes, they're all champions. Meanwhile, in football, two Southampton players are feeling champion. Fraser Forster and Ryan Bertrand have been named in the England squad for the Euro 2016 warm-up games against Germany and the Netherlands.
And at the Cheltenham Festival this afternoon, Colin Tizard-trained Thistlecrack has won the Ryanair World Hurdle. The Dorset-based 8-year-old powered up the hill to pull 7 lengths clear.
Now some sad news. Cliff Mitchellmore, a national broadcasting legend, of course, and with his roots firmly here in the south, and an old colleague of ours, has died at the age of 96.
Well, he worked with Fred back in the 70s and 80s and was interviewed by him 6 years ago, and they've kept in touch ever since.
I'd known Cliff Mitchellmore for the best part of 40 years as a friend and a colleague. I worked with him when he presented one of ITV Meridian's antecedents, the nightly news magazine Day by Day.
All for this week's edition of South Sport.
Welcome to you on South Sport tonight. The big names and the big
Day by Day was his swan song, but in the 50s and 60s, his unflappable, avuncular, friendly, warm, personal but authoritative presenting style had been the bedrock of national current affairs, with series like Highlight, 24 Hours and Tonight.
Okay, you're 5 minutes late. I thought you were all listening to the Archers or something.
When ITV started, the BBC said, well, we must challenge them at 6 o'clock at night. And that was really one of the great things for me. And I enjoyed Tonight because you could do anything on it. And we went everywhere. We did programmes from Vienna and from Rome and goodness knows where.
His was the voice of calm as he led us through general elections, royal investitures, national disasters and global history. He was born in Cowes, where he went to the town's high school.
What a wonderful place to grow up. I can think of no better place to grow up. We used to say, there's no need to go to London to see the King and the Queen. The King and the Queen come to see us every year.
And he later remembered the town in a promotional video.
Cowes was at one time a little tiny fishing hamlet called Shamford. Until that was, they built Cowes Castle in 1539. Then the great bellowing of the guns, they called it the mooing of the cows.
Squadron leader Cliff Mitchellmore started his media career on British Forces Broadcasting. He married BBC announcer Jean Metcalfe in 1950 after what he called love at first hearing. He retired to South Harting in Sussex, where I interviewed him back in 2009, when he was just 90.
It's hard to believe. I've had some wonderful medical help throughout my life. And I suppose the extra 10-20% that I've had, well, you know, good luck, loose living and all that. Particularly loose living.
Cliff Mitchellmore, CBE, legendary broadcaster, colleague and friend, who died sadly today at the age of 96.
Good night.
Just the loveliest, gentlest, most modest man you could ever wish to meet.
Another great Paul Daniels.
Yes, yes, yeah, sad day.
Sad day indeed. Well, Simon is with us now. Simon, cheer us up.
OK, what were you doing at 3:15 this morning?
We were both sound asleep, not together.
OK, a relief to us all, but if you'd happened to be looking at the night sky, you'd have seen something very exciting. Have a look at this piece of video. This is from the UK Meteor Observation Network, who are a group of amateur stargazers. Got 8 cameras across the south, including ones in Hampshire and Wiltshire. And that, at 3:15, was a green flash that left a white trail and was a fireball. Basically, a chunk of metallic rock coming in from the solar system, about the size of a tennis ball, they reckon, going at between 20 to 50 kilometres a second. It would orbit the world in 4 minutes, but it caused this brilliant green flash that lots of people saw, so amazing. We've got some other lovely shots of the night sky as well, because we've had very clear nights recently. Matt Pinner was at Durdledore last night. That's the Milky Way just above it. We've also got here from Martin Dolan in Dorset, the Milky Way above Knowlton Church. And our old friend Greg Parker at the New Forest Observatory has had a few late nights as well. That, I'm sure you know, is the M44 Beehive Cluster, which is, of course, in the constellation Cancer.
I thought it was a road.
And this is the red one in the middle there is the carbon star T Cancri, which is also in Cancer, which apparently we're well placed to see just now. Soon it's going to be the Leo galaxy season. And finally, of course, we wouldn't do a night sky picture without one of those. Sang as it is.
My favourite, the ISS.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Nick Lucas in Ashley Heath spotted it at the weekend. Now, normally I tell you when your next chance to catch it is, but I've been logging onto the NASA website all day and it keeps going down, which doesn't bode well for NASA, I would have thought, or the International Space Station. So I've got no idea when you can next see the ISS. Probably in the early morning sky, I would have thought, but the weather might not be playing ball over the next few days.
Might it not?
No.
OK, well, let's find out. Here he is with your forecast. Simon Parkin.
That's us driving on, us driving off in France, and us outside a chateau.
Driving to Europe. Eurotunnel Le Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, I hope you made the most of the lovely blue skies today, because it's all changed from tonight as, well, things turn a bit gloomy as we hurtle into the weekend, all to do with a big area of cloud that's going to sneak down from the northeast during the night tonight, and it will make for fairly murky conditions to wake up to tomorrow. Very different kind of day. It's also going to feel a lot colder as well. Speaking of cold, underneath the clear skies tonight, temperatures down to around freezing early on. We might see perhaps a little bit of rural frost in places, but then as that cloud pushes down, we will see the temperatures start to rise towards dawn. So will still be a cold start to tomorrow, and it's going to be a mostly grey one as well. There might be an odd bright spell here and there, but that's pretty much the plan as we head through the day. And because there's no sunshine, temperatures very disappointing. Today we've got up to around 12 degrees. Tomorrow we're looking at half that, 6 or 7 for most of us. So certainly feeling like a cold, miserable kind of day. As for your high tide times, you can see in Poole 3:30 in the morning, 9:25 in the evening, and then it's more of the same into the weekend. Settled, yes, but still cold and cloudy.
Eurotunnel Le Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And that's how we look this Thursday evening. In just a moment, we have the ITV Evening News with James Mates and Ranveer Singh.
Nia Mason's got our late news, so try and join her if you can. But for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much indeed for watching. Take good care of yourselves.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.